This is a Nice Guys Patreon exclusive.
Welcome to another NHL team season preview video. 32 teams in 32 days rolls along. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and we've got the San Jose Sharks on tap. And joining us for this preview video, Jason Demers, who is going to join us for San Jose and for Utah to preview both teams here for the upcoming NHL season. Before we get into the San Jose preview, Jason, my gosh, let's do the old golf clap for you here. Well done this past season on television. They had you.
Thank you.
A lot of nights, whether it was San Jose in the studio with Mr. Brazil in the San Jose studio with the Sharks, whether it was NHL Network in their studio and for various shows, and of course throughout the playoffs, you couldn't turn on NHL Network without seeing this guy's smiling face throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs and the Stanley Cup final, where you did yeoman's work covering the final for NHL Network, Edmonton, Florida, traveling back and forth. Definitely had more air miles flights in your system once Edmonton made that comeback and forced a Game 7. How was that whole experience?
It was incredible. It was fun. I mean, the playoffs were fantastic. You know, I didn't think the buzz could be somewhat similar to when you're playing, but you know, even in the commentating booth and being an analyst, it was fun. It was exciting. It was wild. You know, following both teams going back and forth was pretty incredible. I was telling people all year, it's a different muscle, and it's something I didn't think I would enjoy as much as I have. And I learned a ton in my first year and was given a lot of free rein to kind of experiment and do my thing and just, you know, show my personality, which I tried to in spurts when I played. But, you know, I kind of started in the league when it was a little bit more, you had to be reserved and a lot of canned answers. And we weren't allowed to show our personality as much as guys can now, which is great. I love where the league's going and making guys more marketable. But, you know, it was fun for me to kind of let my freak flag fly a little bit and kind of be a jokester, but also, you know, give some good content and good insight. So that's what I feel like it's good to have a mix of both. It's good to have the guys that are very dialed in as analysts and, you know, very serious but informative. And then I think there's a need and a want for a little bit off the cuff and making some jokes, making people laugh, and just because it's a game at the end of the day, and that's all it is. And we're just trying to educate people on the game. And yeah, that's really it. It's just everybody goes home after and takes their jerseys off, and they're regular people. So let's just all take a breath and relax here, unless we're betting, and then we gotta put a little extra juice on it.
That's true, because you're right. As far as betting goes, it's not always easy to relax, especially when you're watching an NFL Sunday and you're on a bunch of overs involving moron coaches that will never kick a field goal anymore in the red zone and take 3 points. What the hell are we doing?
I don't know. If are the overs dead in the NFL?
They could be like they once were. That's for sure.
Moment, yeah.
I mean,
the first 3 weeks.
I wouldn't.
Unless you're Andy Dalton and the Carolina Panthers, apparently. Yeah, and almost went over the total by themselves of all teams. Yeah.
The Red Rocket. The Red Rocket coming out.
No
you
doubt.
Can win with it. You can win with a veteran. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? Hey. Apparently, you can win with anyone besides Bryce Young in Carolina at quarterback. Yeah.
Seems like a nice kid, but he stinks. I don't know.
And speaking of gambling too, just to kind of transition back a little bit, you know, you were doing a lot of the picks and stuff on NHL Live, and there's you, Mike Rupp. You had different hosts that kind of rotated around as well. But yeah, I thought that was really cool watching you guys, you know, integrate, you know, talking about betting along with the hockey
player
as well,
props.
especially from a player perspective. Yeah, I had player props. Saw a couple of draw plays in there as well too, which of course
he's learning. We're teaching this man well.
I tailed there. I won't lie. When I first started, I was like, oh, this is, you know, you finish hockey and you're like, this could be so easy to bet. I'm going to make millions of dollars on the side gambling because I can't gamble because I know the guys and I know this. I tell you what, it is hard as all hell to win because I don't know how many times I was like, oh, I know exactly this team. Like they don't play well. I'm going to fade them. And I got shellacked to the point where I was like, I started watching you guys and being like, okay, oh, wow, this is exactly the opposite of the way I go. But I really enjoy the draw bets. I'm like, I started putting those, and it's a great format with the NHL Network is, I don't like, we don't promote betting. Bet if you can, and obviously I want people
You got to
to
put
bet.
the responsibility tag.
Yeah, you got to
Responsible,
be
yeah, well, always.
bet safely and stuff
We
like
do
that.
too.
But I like the network adding that in to get an insight, especially with like shot props and player props, like because we know a lot of the guys, and I find it's a fun little segment. And then we also had it during the finals. We were going one-on-one against like an AI simulator. I don't know if you guys saw that on NHL Tonight. It was insane. This thing went 7 for 7 in the finals, like and they did the exact scores and who scored the goal, and the exact scores, albeit one game, the 8-1 game, they were within one goal every single time.
Wow.
Of like the exact score and everything. It was crazy. I was like, well, Skynet's here. We're in trouble. The Terminator's coming.
Yeah.
We're done. We're done. We're done.
I know. Yeah. And we're going to have Arnold Schwarzenegger in our nightmares now moving forward.
Yeah.
Terminator is going to become a real life thing here
Exactly.
in our society. AI is just nuts what it's capable of doing.
Crazy.
How bigger it's getting, how more powerful and just efficient and intelligent it's getting. Like it's incredible. And unfortunately, we always look at the workforce is that, the human labor, is it in peril now with the emergence of this AI technology? Long term, you worry about that.
Who knew we'd be talking about human rights on top of a gambling show?
I know.
You touch every base.
There you go.
We're here to talk sharks, and now we're talking like an AI and labor workforce. And
I love it though. That's why we got Jason Demers on, because the
Well,
conversation
little
can
bit of
flow
everything.
in any direction at any
go
given moment.
anywhere. Yeah, I
It's
wear many
exactly
hats.
right.
I wear many hats.
There's no doubt. Well, let's see what we can come up with for the San Jose Sharks here for this upcoming season. Certainly, from a betting standpoint, what kind of season will they have? Obviously, look, the Sharks, we don't have to really sugarcoat it. Last year, it was a brutal season, tough season, the first year of a pretty lengthy rebuild going into motion here with this franchise. There's no question. They sat with just 47 points last year, and that, of course, was dead last in the NHL. It's really nowhere to go but up, you would think, for the San Jose Sharks this upcoming season. But you are still talking about a patchwork roster, questionable depth on the defense and goaltending entering this season, even with the addition of the young prospect Askarov, which we'll get to that in just a moment. But what I do like is a little bit of young blood taking over as head coach in Warsofsky. Someone that I think's, obviously worked his way up to the NHL level. He's gone about it the right way. He's put in his time to get to this level, and I'm liking that they went this route. 36 years old. This guy's younger than me. I mean, holy shit! That tells you how old I'm getting. My gosh, he's 36 years old, and here he is becoming the head coach of the San Jose Sharks. What I like about Warsofsky is, he was assistant coach with the Charlotte Checkers. It won a Calder Cup that year in 2019. He was the new head coach there after the following season with Charlotte. And then he ended up becoming the head coach of the Chicago Wolves. They ended up having the third best record in the league that season. So this is a guy that, has coached in the AHL with two different organizations. Of course, was an assistant coach here for the Sharks. The last
He's won too.
Yes,
he's won
absolutely.
Calder. Yeah, he's won Calder trophies.
Yeah.
I think what we have to look at, which I like, is, you could say it's a win-win, I think, for Mike Grier with this, because he's either the in-between coach before they bring in the big guy, or he's a coach that's going to prove everybody wrong. And I think he's won at the lower level in AHL. And the good thing is he's won by developing younger players, and he's got a lot of young players on this team. So he's going to have to.
This has to be a development team. 100%.
Yeah, it is. And we talked about this before the show. I don't want to go out and say it's not a development league, because it's not. But unfortunately, the Sharks they had to really rebuild from the ground up. So this is what it's going to be. And I think he has a good eye for young talent, and he's able to get the most out of the young players like he did in the AHL. It's a different story in the NHL, but I think I do like the hire. And, at the very least, if he struggles, you have it. There's a lot of good older coaches that they could bring in next. I think they just needed to move on from Quinn. They didn't really have much structure, and I think Warsofsky's going to put in some good structure for him. And he's been really he's been really good at getting a lot out of defensemen in his coaching career. So I think he's really going to shore up the back end and protect them. And they got, Henry Thrun's there, and he's got to take a step forward. And, I think having Wallman come in, he's still a younger defenseman in some respects, and he's capable of carrying a top pairing. So I think
bringing the gritty to San Jose. Yep.
Yeah, and I think I don't hate the Cody Ceci pickup. He gets dogged on a contender, but I think he's serviceable and he's capable of playing some harder minutes, and he's a good veteran. That was just on a team that went to the finals, so he's going to be leaned on in that locker room. So I listen. I like the moves they made. It seemed a little, like you said, patchwork, but they brought in good veterans that know how to play and have been around the league. Tyler Toffoli, guys like that will understand what it's like to play with a young kid and be in an interesting situation because he's seen it all. And I think it's a perfect winger to have with Macklin early on.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be more fun. I like what you said about working on the blue line because the blue line need to tighten up. You cannot be playing loose like you did last year. And last year, too, what made it worse was they weren't good defending in their own end as a collective 6 on the blue line, but you also had to deal with the Mackenzie Blackwood and Kokkonen every night. Like, that is below average goaltending. And
listen, I covered that team, and if it wasn't for those goalies early on, I don't like to rag on coaches, but there was no structure in that D zone. And it was guys, when I'm looking at watching games and I'm watching defensive breakdowns, I look at 2 things. Okay. Either one, is it just lazy defending? Guys aren't playing hard enough, which is on the player, or do guys look completely lost and there's missed assignments? Now, if there's a missed assignment once or twice, you could blame it on the player. But when it's happening every game, that means there's indecision. And when there's indecision, that's on the coaches because you either got to communicate and shore up that, or you have to just they should have went to a zone defense and just sat in a box +1 because they just didn't have the horses last year, but they just kind of banged their head against the walls playing man on man, and there was this missed coverages everywhere. And
you got to have communication, to your point.
Yeah.
Like, you got to go rim when you want the puck, around the board to your partner. And you got to just have that communication because your defense partner or even the forwards trying to help out back checking, they're not going to know what the fuck you want to do.
No, and Blackwood and Kokkonen, without them, it would have been 20-1 some of those games because they were getting absolutely fucking shelled. And credit to the guys for staying positive. I was around that room a little bit, and the guys were fantastic at staying positive. I would have probably found a tall building or I don't know what, but it's hard to get up and go and play at the rink every day when it's that bad, no matter how much money you're paying, no matter how much money you're making. Sure. Honestly. Well,
yeah. You know what? I like the thought. So that's the first time I've heard anyone that's been following San Jose or even that calm down. The goaltending was not the biggest problem with their goals against last year. It was the defensive coverage in their own zone, oftentimes leaving Blackwood and Kokkonen hanging out to dry on this team on a nightly basis. So a good viewpoint there with that. As far as the forwards, obviously, look, we're all excited to see what Macklin Celebrini, the #1 overall pick, delivers. And look, I want to calm everybody down. It's only one preseason game. But boy, oh boy, 1 goal, 1 assist, looked extremely good.
How about that shot? Oh,
yeah.
Off the back foot, on a bad angle, and just put that top titty committee.
Exactly. Yeah. Top cheese, top titty for Macklin Celebrini in his preseason debut. Oh, sky's the limit. Much like the recent #1 picks, McDavid, Bedard, you go on down the list. The potential is just through the roof. But I like the possibility of him playing with, as you mentioned, a veteran like Tyler Toffoli. People are wondering, where's the motivation for Toffoli? You're going, from a team that, you've been a guy that's been in the playoffs all these years. You've won a Stanley Cup. Now you're going to a rebuilding team. Is that going to fire you up to wake up out of bed every morning and get to the rink playing on a team like this? Well, you get to help out and build a team, and a #1 overall pick, maybe play with Celebrini, does stoke the fires of, enthusiasm for a guy like Tyler Toffoli, looking for that inspiration late at this stage of his career.
And also, he still has a possibility to potentially get dealt to a contender, but you get older in your career, and guys that stay around longer, guys that are I call it adaptability. You have to be versatile. You have to know when it's time to change your game and look in the mirror and be like, hey, I'm not what I once was on a top team. I'm probably playing third, fourth line minutes. Do I want to come here, play with a young kid who's a stud and on a team that's probably not going to be great, but I can have some fun playing hockey and mentor the next generation. And I feel like if a team's willing to pay you to do that, and you have a possibility potentially to get traded to a contender if you perform, which Tyler's proven it time and time again that he can perform. I think it's always like a proving ground when you go to a team like that, and you can really either stay there and play out your career and kind of struggle, or you could really bite down on the mouth guard and try to get yourself into a chance to win another cup. So, but I think he's a big signing. They have a lot of young guys on that up front. I love the Wenberg signing. I don't know if Wenberg, I thought he fit. He was under the radar for me with Rangers. I thought he played really well in a defensive, ugly style. He's going to get that same minutes. Him and Luke Cunnin, I think, are going to be great together.
Yeah.
And then
I think the Rangers expected more offense from him, but I agree he was pretty good defensively for them.
Yeah, that was what Roslovic was for, but I think the Rangers got a ton of other issues, but I'm not high on them. But I just think Fabian Zetterlund really had a coming out party a little bit last year, even though it was bad. I thought near the end of the year, the last 25 games, if he keeps that going with his shot, I think with him and Macklin, I think it's an interesting mix. And then you got the guys like Will Smith. I think it's great for Will Smith to come in behind Celebrini and not have as much pressure on him.
He's probably making the team, right?
I would think Will Smith is on the team. I think they're going to bring both those guys. Now, where does he fit? I don't know. I don't think he's as good as Celebrini, but the thing with Will Smith is he's not going to have any pressure on him. He gets to come in, and Eklund needs to have a big year. It's kind of at the time where he needs to take a step forward. Celebrini's going to have somewhat of pressure on him, and then Will Smith will be able to go under the radar. So I think he's going to have a very good year. He'll get like the second, third, he'll get the third D pairing most nights and probably have some fun and be able to kind of get out there. He'll probably get some second power play minutes, maybe first power play, and have a chance to put some points on the board, because I don't know where Logan Couture is going to be. I don't know if he's going to come back. His
season got wiped out by that groin injury last year.
Yeah,
he's not even ready for the start of training camp right now. There's no timetable right now, as the last I checked, for his return.
Yeah, I know him and have talked to him, and it's an interesting one. I think he makes it back, but he's it's a shitty injury. So I think he's you're missing him. So somebody needs to step up. I think Wenberg can fill some of that, and like you said, it's going to be patchwork. They're going to have to play by committee. They're going to have a great system and structure and follow that structure. I wouldn't hate it if they did what the LA Kings did and did a 1-3-1 and just kind of teach the young guys how to play defense and break the puck out and play tighter games, because you got to play with what you got. I don't think playing a run and gun game is really going to benefit them, but who knows? We're in a different league and goals are at a premium, but I think they could, maybe do something with playing a little uglier style of hockey in this Pacific Division. So
I think, maybe learning to be adaptable and kind of maintain a balance of those two systems would work, because like I said, the top six, on paper doesn't look that bad. Obviously, we know, like I said, Celebrini and Smith, they're young guys, and
I like a couple of the additions from playoff teams last year, Alex. Barclay Goodrow from the Rangers, Ty Dellandrea from the Dallas Stars. Those are nice little signings to me. And we saw Goodrow just all of a sudden get this red hot offensive surge going in the postseason last year.
He's
as well.
Two gritty guys, two locker room guys. So I think they're two guys that can contribute defensively, and I think they're going to kind of instill a little bit of a culture in there that maybe got lost last year.
Yeah, and what I was saying is that maybe they adapt their styles to who they're playing. If you're playing a team that's kind of in your range, say like a Columbus or an Anaheim or a bottom tier team, you can be a bit more open offensively. Where if you're trying to play a Dallas or a Florida or Edmonton, then you have to try to really muck things up and be a bit more tight, and maybe, like say, utilize like a 1-3-1 system, something more defensive in nature.
Yeah, play to the
Uh,
opponent. Definitely a
open,
possibility. There's no
open up the
doubt.
playbook.
There you go. Coach Alex B. Smith right there for the San Jose Sharks. All right. Yeah, I mean, other than the forwards, there's not really like I'm excited to see Celebrini. Michael Granlund had a quietly good season. I'll be honest. I was not a
Hey,
big Michael Granlund fan in Pittsburgh, but he's over 60 points last year. He had a crazy point streak down the stretch of last year as well for the San Jose Sharks. So he's likely going to be 2 center. Will Smith, 3rd center, at least on paper to start the year. Wenberg, so they're not bad down the middle. Luke Cunnin, Carl Grunstrom, Barclay Goodrow, Zetterlund showed some flair and a flash offensively. That's why they got him from New Jersey in that trade.
I forgot. I forgot that Carl Grunstrom pickup is an undercover good, really good one. He was a great player in LA. I think was underutilized. He hits like a Sherman tank, and he's
big guy.
He's a good bottom 6 guy. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people there.
No doubt. Blue line, like you said, it's a work in progress. They're going to put a new system, probably try to play tighter. But you mentioned Henry Thrun, having him. Jan Root is back again, shot blocker, try to be stay-at-home physical. Jake Wallman, not a bad pickup from Detroit. CC, look, all that playoff experience, getting to the Cup final. No, it's got to help a young team like this, getting a guy like that from Edmonton. And Mario Ferraro, who's really going to become the bell cow of this blue line this season for San Jose. The question is our old veteran friend, and I know you played with him for a while there in San Jose, Edson Vlasic, Marc-Edouard Vlasic, the injuries, the tread on the tires, older now. How much are you going to get out of him this year?
I mean, I think look out for Mock Medulin. I think he's a guy that's coming in. They're going to give him every chance. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts the opening night roster.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what they do with Vlasic. I think it'll kind of be a helter-skelter year for him where he kind of fills in and is in the supporting role. But I think if Mock Medulin I think it's his job to lose. I think if he has anyone of a decent camp, he's starting. And I watched him. He's a good player. He could be really good. If he fills out, he's very crafty with the puck, very calm and poised under pressure. And he can play kind of 2 ways. So I'd be surprised if he doesn't make that roster because I think it's his to lose.
And he needs to play. He can't be like a 7th or 8th defenseman. He's either going to make the top 6 or they're going to send him down.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a short bus ride from Barracuda to the Sharks. So I think they're fine either
Barracuda,
way. Yeah. Barracuda.
Yeah. Got him an idiot sometimes, but nevertheless, I hope
great hair though. Great hair.
That's like the old Harper ad or something. Yeah. Political ads up here in this country. And then last but not least, the goaltending, and then we'll get Alex's full blown thoughts on the team. Askarov, man. Look, they traded for him. We know there's upside. We know there's a very high ceiling there, and it's not like he's going to have to, he can beat out of Mackenzie Blackwood. He can beat out of Vitek Vanacek, to be the number 1 guy. The question is he ready? We know the talent's there, the ability's there, the pedigree, just the ceiling is very high for Askarov right now, and he's a very competitive goalie. But is Yaroslav Askarov ready to be the number 1 guy, the every night starter in the NHL is the big question. But if you're San Jose, I like that Mike Greer made the trade because look, you've got Vanacek I've seen enough of Vanacek. Can't count on him night in, night out. Too inconsistent, too injury riddled, and Blackwood's Blackwood. Same thing. Mm-hmm. Inconsistent, double eyes, inconsistency and injuries. You know what I've said on this show before about Blackwood? Horseshit game, good game, horseshit game, injured out for a week. Comes back, great game, decent game.
His first game back,
injured out for a month, back again, horseshit game, good game, average game, injured out for the season. That's Blackwood's career the last few years.
Spoken like a guy that's lost some money betting the Sharks.
No, it's someone that's actually faded Blackwood quite a bit over the years with pretty good results. Once in a while, he gets me when he has that once every month where he stands on his head and makes 48 saves. But
no, I listen. I think it's Askarov's going to start in the minors, and I think halfway through the year, wouldn't be shocked if he's shooting the lights out. He comes up and takes over for the second half of the year, depending on where the team's at. And then you could see they're going to hope Vanacek or Blackwood play well enough to get traded for a pick, and then Askarov will come in. That's the way I do it if I was a GM. Look for a team that has some goalie issues and some goalie injuries and are look no further than Vancouver potentially if Demko can't figure it out. But
Yep.
I just think there's a line there for him, and he wanted to leave Nashville because he wasn't getting an opportunity, and they signed Saros for that deal. So I think he'll get it in San Jose. And listen, I think, nothing better than having a bell cow goalie and a first overall pick to grow together and rebuild this franchise. And then, you're going to get these guys on good deals, sweetheart deals for the next 2-3 years, sign them to something, maybe nothing too crazy. Obviously, I'm sure Celebrini's going to get whatever 8x8 whenever he's up, but you can get both these guys at a good price, young in their career, and really build around them. So I think it's they did a lot. They put a lot of pieces in place. Now they got to develop those pieces.
No, that's 100% true. I think that's part of it. One last thing I'll say about San Jose, and then I'll hand it to Alex. This is a team where I think if you're looking at point total for the season, or their season point total, I think there's some value to the over. New coach, new energy early on. You can only go up from that dismal year last year. Am I running to bet a San Jose over point total? No. But
what is it?
I think when you look at what it is right now with the point total, we obviously factor in that they were a sub 50 point team last year, and you look at what their regular season point total is this year for the San Jose Sharks.
64.5.
We're looking at 64. It's 63.5. 63.5, 64.5 in that range.
So 30, like 32 wins.
Yeah, we're looking at it's
the way I always kind of factor a breakdown, because you always have, of course, overtime losses and those points in there. Is I'll go half of the. So I'd say 25 wins and 8 overtime losses would be that would
I mean that's you still need a 17-point increase from last year to go over that point total.
I wouldn't be against that, honestly. I think it's definitely doable for them.
I wanted the number closer to 60 or high 50s.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not betting it.
If Warsawski's the kind of coach that I think he is, he'll have these guys dialed in. And typically, the start of the year, you'll always have a team, just an outlier team that's not better than anybody, but they're just more structured. And what I always say is, when you have a team of young guys, they're all playing more. They all play in the not the Young Stars game, but the rookie tournament. Then they come to training camp. They play more games in training camp, so they're more ready than the veterans. So I always say they can steal a couple wins early in the season before guys start to dial in. And I think that's definitely a possibility where they can get it because of that. And then you're going to think they'll get some wins early, probably go on a horrible losing streak. And then near the end of the season, when everybody's having a rookie party in San Jose and getting drunk night before a game because they're playing the Sharks, they'll probably win another 10, 20 games or something down the stretch after Christmas and sneak past that number. So I don't think it's a bad bet, honestly.
I think it's I was hoping for, like I said, a little bit of a better number, but I still think after last year, there's only one way to go for the team that's up. There's new energy. I actually think there's going to be spots to bet on San Jose early.
Yeah.
Because of the new coach energy, the new young talent, Will Smith's now in the lineup, young energy, Macklin Celebrini as well, that you're going to have them in the lineup. I like actually some of the moves. Like I like them bringing in Gaudreau and Delandria and Toffoli. Zetterlund, I think, going to be a little bit more. Wenberg, you mentioned adding him as well. William Eklund, is he going to take another step this year up front for the San Jose Sharks?
And here's a little point for the bettors out there. People are going to show up to watch Macklin Celebrini in San Jose. So you're going to have an energy in the Shark Tank that hasn't been seen in a couple of years. People will be, and when the Sharks fans come in, they're loud. So don't be surprised if they have a good home record kind of early. They win some games early in the season because that's a tough building to play in, even when it's quiet. But when it's full and people are rocking, which they will come out for Macklin. Look at the preseason game last night in San Jose. There's a lot of fans there for a preseason game. And they're going to show up. So I wouldn't be shocked by any means. And then there's a guarantee spot where I would bet Sharks win. Is going to be Joe Thornton's retirement jersey ceremony, which I'll be in attendance. The building will be packed and we'll be rocking.
That's true.
So I assume that November 24th, it's a guaranteed Sharks win. For sure.
Hey, we talk about that angle, Jason, on this show. That
all about angles.
Nights for the home team, and sometimes you get a nice pull up your bootstraps performance from the entire club. You could see that on that particular night for obviously one of the greatest legends in the history of the franchise. Obviously,
what did
Joe
we
Thornton.
what did we joke about last year? Was mom's trips? Mom's trips was like 8-0 last year.
Yeah,
mom and dad. Yeah, mom and dad's trips were like
they're
crazy.
They're like 80% winning percentage.
Yep.
So bettors at home get cooking.
Yep.
That's why Jason's on our previews right here. He's a better at heart, and he's bringing the heat right here. Great angles, great thought. The thought about Thornton's retirement night Jersey night makes a ton of sense. The thought about the home ice being elevated this year, like it's a stronger home ice. It should, because look, that place, it didn't look or fucking sound like the Shark Tank last year. It was terrible. It was a Halloween costume party. Everyone dressed as empty seats, no noise, no loud environment whatsoever. You're right. The Macklin Celebrini factor is going to bring people out. Look what it did in Chicago with Bedard last year.
Yep. And that's what I was going to say. I do for my power rankings. I always do a home ice chart, and I go 1 through 4. 4 being, the absolute madhouses of the world, your T-Mobile arenas, Bridgestone arenas, and then 2 to 1 usually just indicates, like I said, it's either a team having a bad year or just not a lot of crowd. Toronto, exactly. Toronto's a 1. Perfect example. So I have
especially on a Monday night against Los Angeles.
Right, of course. And it's
the business crowd.
Right. So I had San Jose at the end of the year downgraded to a 1. But San Jose at the beginning of last year was a 2. And this year they would be back at a 2. And like I said, it could be at a 3 because, like I said, not only will the crowds that they play in front of be larger and packed, but the crowds they're playing in every arena. San Jose would have been a game where if you have season tickets say for the Hawks, you probably give them to a friend or somebody. Now you're going to go to that game because Celebrini is playing. So they're going to be playing in front of 20,000 crowds, 2,000 on the road as well, and that will be giving them more emphasis. And that's something we talked about. Ian and I both like betting on the Sharks team early this year. 7 of the first 10 games being on the road. I think that's a really good thing to have as well. Young guys get used to having a couple of home games, but then hit the road and be back to business and get some of the road games out of the way early, of course, too, which is always a good sign. So,
team bonding.
That's right.
Get to learn to love each other. Yeah.
As a former glue guy, I approve this message.
There you go. So you know what I'm talking about. The road trips where no distractions, no family, no babies, no kids, no nothing, no wives. It's just you and the boys, and you come together.
Fuck them kids. Get on the road, baby.
That's you and I both. The next kid I have will be too soon, or the first kid I have will be too soon. Yeah.
Now, one thing that is interesting. One thing that is interesting with San Jose and looking at the schedule is that when they come back,
childless catmen. No, we're not catmen.
Well, not catmen. I don't own a cat.
No, you don't own a cat. No, I'm married. Yeah, I'm married. So
yeah.
But looking at the schedule, when they get back from the Four Nations break, they hit the road for the season-long 7-game trip, which I think that might be that could be a different story than, say, early in the year. You're already on a break for about 11 days, and then they have those guys being on the road for another 2 weeks. That might be the time to sell on the Sharks and start fading them late.
That's that's going to hurt because most guys will probably, especially if they're not doing well, you'll have a couple of the veterans that will go on a vacation and enjoy themselves, and then they're going to be hurt and coming back, and then it's a slow start. And usually you want to start at home after those breaks, but to go right on the road after you've been on the road traveling for vacation is gonna sting just a touch. I think it's my opinion.
No doubt. Well, the fact that now I hear Jason saying that going to try to play a tighter brand of hockey and instill a new system that's going to play that way. Like I said, I loved my San Jose games over last year. I'm pumping the brakes early on with that this year. We'll see. I'm more so bet on. I'll be looking from a side perspective in certain spots. San Jose, will have some value, I think, throughout the course of the season. I lean over their point total, but I'm not getting there with it. Alex, before we wrap it up, anything you want to add about the Sharks?
Just kind of wanted to, I did a write-up that's on the Ice Guys Patreon page, and I did 32 predictions, one for each team. And I was saying to people, be careful betting Macklin Celebrini to win the Calder Trophy because of the fact that you have Will Smith right there. Those two guys automatically could cancel each other out. They both have great seasons, and they're looking fantastic in the eyes of the voters. They might split things down the middle. So that's kind of the one caveat I have.
Like Logan Stankoven, full year in Dallas, and he's in the Calder Trophy conversation because of that.
Who are the guys? Those three, and then
it's Stankoven was the favorite. I'm bringing up the awards category now. You also have Michkov at plus 370, Cutter Gauthier at 5-1, Lane
That's
Hudson at
my
7-1.
though. I would probably say my Lane Hudson is an interesting one because
Yep.
Montreal's my sneaky pick of the season. That I think there's a possibility they could slide into the playoffs. I think they have a lot of youth. If they can just find anything in nets, it's going to be interesting. And I think, Marty, I know we're talking Sharks, but Marty St. Louis came out and was like, this is going to be the first year I'm going to have to coach. So I think he's going to really, there's some pressure. And I think Laine revitalizes a little bit out there in Montreal. For sure.
I hope so. I'm not ready
do-
to
I
go
do
there
too.
yet with Laine, but like I said, it can't hurt.
Can't
Like
hurt.
I say, he's got to put in the work, though. Like
They're going
Marty
to
St. Louis
be,
got to
be exciting.
Yeah.
They're going to be exciting.
Yeah.
Well, and I talked about it on that show already, but I said I think Laine does have a bounce back year, and I think that's part of a bigger plan. I think at some point we see a Mr. Connor McDavid end up playing with Montreal in a couple of years.
How's that for a bold opinion right there? That's really.
I've been with you all day, but I'm fucking. That's about a 0.01 chance. I think he's staying Edmonton.
That means there's a chance
forever.
Though.
Yeah. Him and Draisaitl are super close. I think it's. I think
they'll work heaven and earth to get it done, Edmonton and Stanley Bowman. But
you're not.
Yeah, we'll see.
You're not letting.
They'll have to. They have to find the money, and like I said, and the 2-year thing is really interesting because his contract's up in 2 years. Laine's contract's up in 2 years. There's a ton of money that'll be available for Montreal in that spot, and to play, still stay in Canada. And if we're talking about the Cup drought still existing, as far as the Canadian Cup drought goes, if he doesn't win this year, to be with an original 6 franchise. The premier franchise in the country. I mean, that's a hell of a thing to turn down.
No chance Gary Bettman is allowing Connor McDavid.
That would be the one thing to stop it. He's the one to stop it.
To go from one Canadian market to another. It's enough that he's in Edmonton. Not to say that, but he'd be going to an American city, but I just can't see him. He loves Edmonton and he's a hockey nerd.
Did Gretzky love Edmonton too, though? Just saying.
I know, but I mean, listen, that's
the proof that anything can happen, right there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think. Yeah, you got to think. Kopitar's coming up too in LA. There's gonna be money in LA soon, the next couple of years.
Yep. Yeah. Kopitar and even Doughty, for that matter, eventually, are off the books there. Okay, JD, any last words on San Jose?
I think watch early. Check them out. I think it's going to be really interesting to see the way they come out of the gate structure-wise. There's going to be some growing pains, but I think they're going to catch some teams off guard. I just think Macklin will do his thing, and I think they're going to have a couple guys that are playing for contracts and playing for their livelihood, and they're going to make sure that I think they have enough in the bottom 6 to surprise some people, and those young guys will kind of fill in the rest. And I think it's something that I think they're going to have a great power play. I think that's going to help them out. I think they're really going to have an exciting power play, and it's just going to be about getting some serviceable goaltending. And I think they'll stay in some games more than people think early. Obviously, they're going to be way better than last year, but, I still think, temper expectations because to Alex's point, there's going to be a lull at some point. It's going to happen. These young kids played in college. They're not used to playing this schedule. There's injuries. It's a hard
1-9 stretch in 10 games.
Yeah, they're gonna. You're not gonna come out and play 500 hockey. They're gonna probably be streaky, but I think early they'll be good. Those guys will be raring to go, and then they'll kind of take a dip. But the good thing to know with Macklin, for people at home that don't know, his dad's a strength coach for the Golden State Warriors. I met him and his dad. His dad is. I talked to his dad, and I talked to Macklin. He's already mentally. He's like a 25-year-old just talking to him and picking his brain. So if there's a kid to have a really good year, it's him because he knows what it's like to be around pro sports teams more so than most top guys that have come into the league. So I think he's going to have a better year. There'll be some growing pains. He'll make some mistakes, but I think point wise, he'll be good. So.
All right. Well, definitely looking forward to Macklin Celebrini's first season in the NHL. And you're right. He's got a good head on his shoulders, right? So many of these young kids, they're so much more mature for
Yeah.
18, 19 than they've ever
More
been
than I
before.
was.
It really
More
is
than I am
amazing.
now.
I know. Here's Macklin Celebrini, not even 20. He's more mature than yours truly. You can throw
Fuck.
me in that category.
Yeah, I'm
as
gonna
well.
throw you in there.
100%. It's not even a
Ion.
debate, not an issue. 100%. It's a non-starter. He's got more maturity in his pinky finger compared to me, my whole entire body. But great stuff. Awesome conference. We could keep going. But that's the San Jose Sharks season preview video. Jason Demers, awesome stuff. For Alex B. Smith and Jason Demers, I'm Ian Cameron. This has been your San Jose Sharks season preview as 32 teams in 32 days rolls along right here on the Ice Guys.